The United States, boasting substantial oil reserves, is currently navigating a complex landscape of export restrictions and geopolitical tensions that impact its ability to fully leverage these resources. In response to the 1973 oil embargo, the U.S. government implemented measures to safeguard domestic energy supplies, including restrictions on crude oil exports. These policies aim to reduce reliance on foreign oil and protect the nation from volatile global markets. While refined petroleum products like gasoline and diesel could be exported, crude oil exports were largely prohibited. Lifting the export ban and its implications. The landscape shifted in 2015 when the U.S. lifted the 40-year ban on crude oil exports, aiming to promote efficient energy resource management. This policy change was expected to align domestic crude prices with international markets, potentially lowering consumer fuel costs. However, the legislation preserved the president's authority to impose export restrictions under specific circumstances, such as national emergencies or sanctions. Recent export challenges. Despite policy changes, U.S. oil exports face new hurdles. In early 2025, China imposed retaliatory tariffs on U.S. crude oil, potentially leading to a decline in exports to China, which had already decreased due to China's preference for cheaper Russian and Iranian oil. In 2024, U.S. crude exports to China averaged 166,000 barrels per day, about 5% of total exports. Analysts suggest that while medium-sour U.S. crude might find domestic buyers, light-sweet crude could still see demand in Europe and India. Additionally, proposed U.S. port fees on China-built ships have begun to choke coal and agriculture exports. The executive order includes fines of up to $1.5 million per China-made vessel visit, aiming to boost U.S. shipbuilding. However, this has led to a shortage of ships for exporting goods, affecting sectors like coal and agriculture. Coal exports are particularly at risk, with potential cessation within 60 days, jeopardizing $130 billion in shipments and posing significant job losses. U.S. farmers are also struggling as these tariffs hinder their ability to secure transportation for crops like corn, soybeans, and wheat, potentially adding $930 million in transportation costs annually. Sanctions and geopolitical tensions. The U.S. has also imposed sanctions on Chinese companies importing Iranian crude oil, as part of its maximum pressure campaign on Iran. For instance, Huaying Huizhou Daya Bay Petrochemical Terminal Storage and Luqing Petrochemical were sanctioned for storing and buying Iranian oil. These sanctions aim to cut off revenue streams that could finance terrorism and nuclear programs. China's government condemned the sanctions and vowed to protect their enterprises' rights. Domestic policy shifts. Domestically, the U.S. administration plans to expand oil and gas leasing in Alaska, reopening 82% of the National Petroleum Reserve and the 1.56 million-acre coastal plain of the Arctic National Wildlife Refuge to leasing. This move aims to boost economic growth, but has drawn criticism from environmental advocates concerned about the impact on wildlife and the climate. The energy industry remains cautious due to potential political shifts that might reverse these policies in the future. Conclusion. The United States' substantial oil reserves are influenced by a web of export restrictions, geopolitical tensions, and domestic policy decisions. While lifting the crude oil export ban in 2015 aimed to integrate U.S. oil into global markets, recent challenges, including tariffs, sanctions, and environmental concerns, have complicated this objective. Navigating these complexities requires balancing economic interests, environmental stewardship, and geopolitical strategies. This analysis is based on information from reputable sources, including Reuters, the Financial Times, and the U.S. Government Accountability Office. These sources provide insights into the multifaceted factors affecting U.S. oil exports and the broader energy landscape.